Godrej Woodsman Estate, a complex in Bengaluru where Dr. Kasturi Rangan, the Indian space scientist who headed the Indian Space Research Organization from 1994 to 2003, stays, decided to hold an online Independence Day event and invited the kids to ask him anything. These are the interesting questions that emerged.
What did the Chandrayaan 2 orbit Earth four times instead of directly going to the very good question? When we try to put a spacecraft into space and target an object in the space, we want to make sure that we get the optimal energy use, because the weight of any spacecraft is limited and you cannot add unlimited energy, which means fuel, to propel it to the other object. And so you develop strategies as to how to reach the object. In this case, it is moon, by spending minimum energy. So there are minimum energy principles in the orbital dynamics, where you try to look at the characteristic of an orbit and the energy that is spent during the orbital motion, in terms of the spacecraft gaining extra energy because of this. It is, the energy is gained actually from the Earth's gravitational field. The gravitational field kicks the particular spacecraft to nudge it further and further. So if I do 3 to 4 times the circling of the Earth, I get nudged by the Earth's gravity. I get incremental velocity. This incremental velocity keeps on adding and increases the velocity of the satellite or the spacecraft, the Chandrayaan 2 here. And once a certain level of extra energy has been realized, at that time you propel the spacecraft by a propulsion system so that it goes towards the moon. So in this way, with a less amount of fuel, requiring less amount of energy, I can always make sure that within the limitations of my satellite's weight, I can still reach the moon. That's why the design of the Chandrayaan 2 is such that this requirement of reducing the energy put a constraint in terms of not directly going to the moon, but going it through the Earth first, gaining more energy, and then going towards the moon. But in future, we can certainly make big spacecraft, add a lot of fuel, and take it straight to moon. That's also no problem. In principle, there is no difficulty. It is a question of optimization. School more interesting, and how will it benefit me? Yes. The whole exercise of school education is, if you ask me, two important things. One is recognize the fact that this is the most critical phase of a child, when he or she is going to grow from the cradle to the first 3 years of being at home. From 3 years onwards on to pick up a lot of ideas, and it is getting information and able to communicate with the environment. Then you start speaking, writing, and talking. So speak and communicating. And then you move into starting understanding the various ideas, whether it is physics, mathematics, or philosophy, humanity, the ecology, and things of that kind. So there is but what we have done in the policy is first to recognize that you will learn things which you can learn. For example, by up to the age of 8, every child doesn't learn in the same pace, simply because of the fact the brain growth of different children are at different paces up to the age of 8. This will make sure that we will make sure by the age of 8, all the children more or less come to the same level by addressing every child individually with regard to his or her strengths and weaknesses. So there is an individual attention. The new policy will make sure in the first 5 years, what you call it the foundational period, and your foundational literacy and numeracy by that time gets set. That is what is important thing. Second thing is, once you start learning, you are learning what you would like to learn, what you would like to read. So the pedagogy, the curriculum and the pedagogy will be such that it gives you opportunity to learn many things, not only science, not only some aspects of engineering. It could teach you humanities. You can learn philosophy. You can learn psychology. You can learn you can learn ecology. You can environmental sciences. You can look at gardening. You can look at arts, crafts. So there is a whole host of things. It will be played for you as an option. Come on. When you are in secondary school, you pick up what you want, because you pick up what you like to do. This is really to make sure that we don't kill your creativity by a straitjacketed education system where the teacher and the other higher management tells you, you learn this, you remember this, you make it in the rote learning, just write in the examination, and then to somehow write a pass so that you get admission to higher education. This is not going to be the nature of the education. The education will be controlled by you, your parents, your teachers, and your well-wishers, and you will pick up what you like best. And when you pick up what you like best, you do the best automatically. Somebody is not going to enforce you on this. So the whole last 4 years of the education, which is what I would like to say is the real crux of what you will be one which will be holistic, which will have an integrated concept, which will give you multidisciplinary opportunities, and you can have sports and music. When you learn that, you get credit for that also. It is not that it is a thing. So we have made sure you don't have curricular, extracurricular, co-curricular kind of a thing. You don't have things like science and arts. These are all integrated into a good integrated system. Choice of picking up, choice of studying, choice of becoming something in the life is all left to you. So that's a wonderful thing, because there are also areas like how do you learn storytelling? How do you try to bring the question of learning about India? How do you learn a little bit about the languages of India and the fun of languages? The fun you study. So the learning will be always, there will be a large component of fun and joy in learning it. This is other aspect of it. And then lastly, we don't want to totally get away from memorizing certain things. You need to have that faculty of memorizing. So some portion of the education will be still coming on the memorizing and putting it down. But majority of it will be based on your ability to think, be creative, and try to come out with original ways of doing things. And that fortifies your ability to judge and do things, even though you were not studied it formally, but your ability to do that, we try to make sure is already built into your system. So that is the beauty of the new educational system. And I think that is what is going to benefit you, because you will be when you learn through this system, you will be a very different person. The way in which you do things, when you look at things, how you solve the problems, how do you deal with an environment, how do you deal with other people, and even constitutional values, the country's ethos and value system, everything, you have something to understand. So I think you are in for good times. That's all I can say.
And my question is, how can school add more value when all the information and knowledge we need is on the internet? We can access the internet at any time also.
This is a question that, tomorrow, for example, the online learning is coming to picture. Everybody talks about online. You may not see the teacher eye to eye and things of that kind. There is something about humans which are related to the fact that the best of the faculties develop when you interact with a human. For example, I would have been much more happy to be amongst you physically today and talk to you on the various aspects, rather than sitting in front of you on a chair and you are a virtual so far as this thing is concerned. The idea is that whereas digital systems certainly, and it carries a lot of information, is going to carry a lot of courses they are going to have, lot of well thought out strategies of learning they are going to have, and these are all can be stored. You can pick up whenever you want, depending on which your class you are and what content you are looking for. You can also learn at your own pace. You are not going to rush through like a teacher. We will tell you in 40 minutes, she has got a content to finish. So she tells you all that within the time. Then you have to redo it. How much you are able to do it as a replay of what the teacher has told you. Here you don't understand a particular principle, 3 lines there are a little troublesome. You can revisit and think about it a little more dive. So there are many advantages in trying to use digital, and those advantages have to be picked up and properly used. There is no question that cannot be. But at the same time, there are many things which can be much better in terms of an interactive session. So even as you learn through the digital systems, and try to learn as much as you want with the best contents in the digital system. Coursera and things like that are really remarkable in terms of the way the best thinkers have given courses. So you cannot afford to lose that. You may not be able to get that kind of courses delivered here by individuals. So you have the advantage. But at the same time, many things can be much more clarified. You can enhance your own understanding of the principles and ideas by also interacting with teachers. So this is where the new concept of a blended learning is coming into picture. You use technology, you use digital methods of learning, and then you try to also interact with the teachers at an appropriate time, and then bring it together in a blended form. So this is the blended thing. So I think these are all taking off. The COVID has accelerated some of the processes like online learning, and the schools can certainly, a lot of schools have added this kind of online learning, and it is proving to be quite satisfactory in many cases. They are reporting well. But what we would like to do is that we are going to set up a technology forum. This technology forum will evaluate all the digital method, technologies, and things like that. There are areas of enriching teachers, they are enriching students, giving updates on the teachers for their learning and delivery, then administration and management. So there are many dimensions to a technological approach, not only for school, even for higher education. So we are setting up a National Technology Education Forum. It will be a kind of a assessment, analysis, research, looking at the present system and its adequacy, inadequacy, looking at what the new system the country should bring, what kind of new areas are applicable in this country in its context of its development and outlook, and then ultimately also to make sure that they are shared between the state and central governments. So this is going to be a major effort in terms of a technology forum. This will be located in different parts of the country. We will have experts who will do this data analysis, who look at the assessment, do look at the research part of it, to look at the problems that are now posing in the use of technology for education and such other things. So this is a multi-pronged approach, but there is no doubt that technology will play a significant role in the future in the context of education. Yet how well that will get blended with the human interface and how well we can optimize the two so that you don't lose out the value of the contact, eye-to-eye contact with the teachers. They are still the mainstay of making sure that you turn out to be a good, well-rounded, educated citizen. Technology cannot make sure, and this will make, teacher only will make you sure.
Honored to be able to interact with you. So today I have two questions for you. Firstly, what are the qualifications required to become part of an ISRO team as a researcher or a scientist?
Well, ISRO as an employer is primarily for people with interest in science engineering as of now. So if you have got a science program studies like I did, whether it is in Bachelor of Science with honors or a master's and a PhD, and that science is in one of the areas which are pure physics can be there, astronomy can be there, and now because of human space flight, there could be even areas like medicine, space medicine. So there are many areas in which ISRO will look for people. Engineering, the whole gamut of engineering, whether it is electrical, mechanical, civil, the electronics, the computer, all of them, ISRO takes people. So there is no question. So the ISRO's recruitment policy is that you should have scored, so far you should have scored high within the first 5%, 10%. And you should be able to perform well in a discussion with the selection committee. And so if you are interested, certainly there are also areas like cross-coupling of multiple subjects, what you call as system engineering. That is also possible. So it's not difficult to get the position in ISRO, even as for the regular employment. ISRO's opportunities for research will be very much dependent on your interest, because there will be always some time targeted responsibility that has to be fulfilled. It may be the development of a thermal system for a spacecraft, or it could be computing the optimal trajectory for a lunar mission or to a Mars mission, or it could be related to creating an artificial intelligence system for communication between Mars and Earth to make sure that the failures are taken note of. So there are several dimensions to the kind of problems that ISRO will tackle, and all of you have to play a role if you join ISRO. ISRO provides a tremendous opportunity in terms of diversity of interests that you are free to change if you find one subject is more interesting. Number one, you have all the freedom to work, regular responsibility plus additional interest if you want to work. You can work beyond office hours and things of that kind. The guidance also from the seniors, certainly they pay a lot of attention to the growth of the youngsters so that they can grow up to be good leaders in ISRO itself. So that part of it is also there. And ISRO's current dimensions, which include satellites, rockets, applications, space science, astronomy, and all the international collaboration and cooperation. And then there is the business where you have to do commercialization. So there are several things it opens up now. And I'm sure that any area, including a business degree, can be useful for working in ISRO. So I think only your imagination is the limit to go and work with ISRO.